All right. We're talking about a series of unfortunate events, book the fourth, The Miserable Mill by Lemony Snicket. Now, I gotta establish some things with a series of unfortunate events. Because this book marks a bit of a change in the series, which is these books go from just being a Count Olaf scheme to being a Count Olaf scheme and social commentary. So the series of unfortunate events books can be broken up into three categories. The first three essentially exist to set up that Count Olaf's a villain, and the orphans are going from guardian to guardian. It's a general setup of these books up until we get to the eighth book, which we'll get to that when we get to that. But books 4 through 9 primarily are social commentaries. So, for instance, this book, the premise is the Baudelaires are sent to the town of Poultryville to be taken care of by a guardian simply known as Sir. Sir is essentially, his name is so hard to pronounce that he just has everyone call him Sir. He runs a lumber mill called Lucky Smells Lumber Mill, where he pays his employees in coupons and not actual money. And he makes a deal with the orphans that if they work there, then he will protect them from Count Olaf. But the conditions are pretty terrible at the lumber mill. They have a new foreman called Foreman Flacutono, who is just the spawn of Satan and just terrible, although he isn't the worst antagonist this series has, and he's not even the most annoying. Just wait till the next book. But essentially, this book, the big plot is that when Klaus trips and breaks his glasses due to Foreman Flacutono tripping him, Klaus ends up going to the eye doctor across the street, a Dr. Orwell. And of course, it's the building shaped in the same eye shape that's tattooed on Count Olaf's ankle. And come to find out that the receptionist is Count Olaf disguised as a woman named Shirley. And basically Klaus is brainwashed for a good chunk of this book. The climax of this book is utterly ridiculous. Sunny the baby has a sword fight with someone using her teeth as a sword, which is wild, which leads me into something. I'm going to get into a little bit of my history with Series of Unfortunate Events, because these were like the hyped books of my latter elementary school days, because right around the time I got into the series, the film had come out, the Jim Carrey film, which I personally don't think is very good. It's fine. It's an okay Jim Carrey vehicle for the time. I mean, it's him just being Jim Carrey, essentially. Doing the same shtick he did in The Grinch, but as Count Olaf this time. It's just, it's that. But they really got the attention of everyone. Because I remembered these weird cover books and being curious about them because they're hardcovers. And I'm like, well, they must be good if they're just hardcover only. You could get paperbacks, but when I was a kid, you had to get them from like school book fairs. It was really weird how you would get paperbacks of Series of Unfortunate Events. You mainly found them like this. Now, you can get paperbacks now. I think they have the TV show cast on the covers. But, anyway. Yeah, it's when I was a kid, we got these books, and we get them from the Scholastic, like, catalog. you all remember Scholastic when people my age and maybe a little older, when you were a kid and you went to public school, Scholastic liked to give out a catalog that your parents would mail in for stuff and it'd be shipped to the school, essentially. And the way they did it, as I recall, or we could have gotten it from, my mom was a member of so many book clubs, but I really want to say they came in at school. You'd order them in threes. The Lemony Snicket Series of Unfortunate Events books would come in 3-packs. Not like it had a slipcase or anything. They were cellophane wrapped, of all things. And it'd be 3 books. And I remember we mailed away to get the first 6. My mother was still reading out loud to my sister and me, and I sat in on the first 3. And my mom was checked out at that point, but I was utterly enthralled. This would have been about 04. So in late 05 or like early 05. So I remember the movie came out like when I was like in 4th grade, at like the end of me and being in 4th grade, and then I was in 5th grade from 05 to 06, that school year. I reread the first 3 really quickly for a computer program we had called AR, which was stood for Accelerated Reading or something like that. It was called AR. It basically ruined reading for most children. It made it very competitive and tedious. And you would read a book and you'd get a 10-question test on the computer. And the thought was, oh, you're using a computer. That's cool. Kids like using computers. It was not enjoyable. They were very tedious things. But I went through and I got the first 3 books and I reread them pretty quickly for me at the time. And so they were easy wins for AR points. And then I jumped into Miserable Mill. This would have been in 05. End of 05. And it was the first one. And I remember thinking, this is so much better than the first 3. And I stand by that. This book is infinitely better written. This is where the footing starts to happen. You'll see this through books 4 through 6 really are a transition to what the series will become. Where it still keeps the trappings of Olaf in disguise trying to get the orphans. But they essentially, they just become more interesting. And the fact that Sir is just their guardian is outright I won't say he's full-on villainous, but he's just an asshole. He has a partner whose name is escaping me. There's actually 2 nice characters in this. The other one, and they both kind of show up later on in the series. It's Charles. Charles is his partner. And Charles is really nice to the orphans, but he has no spine. Because in a series of unfortunate events, the adults are either villainous, stupid, or have no spine, or some combination of the 3. And it's a pretty humorous book. The climax of this was pretty intense for kids. I was shocked, and it worked for me as a kid. It still works as an adult. I really, really liked this book. It's one of my favorites. It was one of my favorites on reread. I didn't get the social commentary aspect of like the workforce and underpaying people that work manual labor jobs. I get it now that I've been part of the workforce for so long. I 100% get it, and I find it very funny, the whole coupon thing. So, anyway. What would I give this one? I'd probably give it a good 4.9 out of 5. It's really worth your time to check out, and it's probably in my top 5 for the series. So, anyway, have a nice day.